Hello and welcome to your favorite weekly show. This is the show where I talk on a weekly basis. I decide I will be doing this weekly from now on. That's the cadence that I'm aiming for because I want to keep on making videos. I want to never stop making videos, but I don't think it should ever be something that's like happening all like so often that it's a burden. I feel like one video a week is a very doable margin, and it keeps you guys plugged in on how my life is going, and it keeps me active and talking and trying new things. So I think it's a very good thing for everyone involved. So today I don't have as strong of a topic as I have in my last videos. I feel like kind of this whole thread I've had recently talking about competence and experience and perspectives and all that sort of thing. It's kind of reaching its close. I'm starting to transition towards other ideas, exploring other ideas, but it hasn't felt like there are any clear lessons that have made themselves known quite yet. So today I'm just gonna kind of talk about how my week has been. Um, which is not to say I don't have anything to talk about. I do have things to talk about, and the main thing is that I I didn't really do anything this week. I had assignments and I did get work done, but I have even bigger assignments coming up, and I didn't really get anything done on them. I I just I spent a lot of this week either sitting at my computer playing games or sitting around listening to podcasts or sitting around watching TV shows or sitting around watching movies or sitting around recording videos. That's actually not true. This is the first video I've recorded this week. I don't make stuff too often. I wish I made stuff more, but yeah, for this channel, like I said, it's a little more low key. Um, I got very little actual work done this week, and it's been bothering me a lot. I've thought, man, what is wrong with me? Like, no, seriously, what is wrong with me? How is it that I'm not able to get stuff done? And of course, I know the answer, or at least I know a answer. Um, I forget if I talked about it in a previous video, but no, I did. That was like the whole point of my previous video. So I was on ADHD medication for a few weeks, and then it started to have very bad uh, effects on my mental health. So I stopped taking the medication, and that fixed all of the problems. But because I've stopped taking the medication, suddenly all that focus I had, which was helping me get stuff done, it just kind of disappeared. If you can't tell, I cannot snap my fingers. That's that's kind of the best I can do, but it's just not good. And there you see, there's a little bit of that ADHD energy getting in there. Well, that's me though. You know, that sort of thing's harmless, but when you have a lot of stuff to get done, and especially when the deadlines for those things aren't right in front of you, with ADHD, it is so difficult to get those things done. I don't think people realize how difficult it actually is. I'll wake up and I'll say, I have a plan, I have a thing I'm gonna do, and then I go and spend the whole day doing nothing, and the whole day looking at the time, being like, okay, it's getting kind of pretty far along here. I should probably pivot and do something else. And then I never pivot. I never do anything else. I just do the one thing the whole day, and then the day's gone, and that was it. And that's exactly what the last week has been. And I wasn't experiencing that when I was on medication. With the medication, you know, I get up, I'm like, okay, I need to get this thing done, and then I get the thing done, and I move on. I was almost too productive because I ran out of stuff to do in the short term, and then I sat there anxious because I had nothing to do. And I was like, oh man, I'm not being productive enough. Um, Now I'm not being productive enough, like for real, but I'm not stressed about it. I'm just kind of more from a meta perspective worried like I will not be able to survive if I keep this up. But I'm not anxious. I'm just I I know it's a bad thing. I know it's not sustainable. So I've been really thinking a lot like what changed? because I only started taking this medication in the last month. Before that, I went 4 years of my life without medication, and I did well enough. So it's actually kind of sad because I feel like some of the habits that I developed to deal with my ADHD just kind of got forgotten. You know, those little things that I did to mitigate it. I kind of put them on the wayside because I didn't need them, and now I'm looking back saying like, oh, well, what did I do before? What were my practices? And all I've really come up with is, I don't know. I guess I just used a lot of willpower. No idea. Um, so that's kind of been where my head's been at recently. Um, this has felt less like a big, there's some big lesson in this sort of deal, and it's more just, I don't know, sometimes even though you've got barriers in your way, you do kind of just need to get past those. And it helps with my ADHD because the longer I go without doing stuff, the more I kind of realize like, oh, I need to get stuff done. And especially as the deadlines have been approaching, then my motivation goes way up and it becomes much easier to do these things. But I feel like I still haven't quite figured out the key, but I wonder if the key is just really do it. I mean, okay. I think it's tough because I think a lot of people do have this perception that with enough willpower you can do anything. And it is true, but I think people underestimate how much willpower some things take. And the fact that it's just it's sometimes easy to say that and hard to apply it. It's the textbook example of easier said than done. I wish so much that I could just sit down and get stuff done, but that's just not how it works. Sometimes I can do it, but I don't know, it feels like it's out of my control. But when you're living a life where you're always out of control, that's that's not right. I mean, there's got to be a solution. Medication, other medications, maybe that's part of it. Um, I don't know. Yeah, I've been really drilling into this, just pondering the state of my life. I feel like I should do a video on the topic of how we spend our time, how we think. I feel like I mentioned it maybe in a past video, but I feel like we do spend too much time focused on ourselves and we kind of assume we're the most important thing, when maybe that's not necessarily true. But in this case, I feel like it's kind of appropriate because I need to figure out how my brain works so that I can work with it and get stuff done despite my limitations. And I think it's also important, to take ownership because even if I can't do things as easily as people, if my ADHD causes me to miss out on certain responsibilities, to make mistakes, that's on me. There's no one else I can blame but myself because I'm the one who made that choice. If I choose to sit down and play video games, I chose, even though maybe the choice was easier for me than it was for other people, I still made the choice. So I should own that and recognize that I should improve. We should improve, even if things are tougher for us to improve than in a certain area than it might be for anyone else. We should try to improve all the time, even if that requires a long, arduous process. Even if we don't see that much success, it's still worth pursuing that, I think. So I'm going to try, I'm going to search, I'm going to see if I can find ways to better orient my time so I can get things done, and not going so far that I turn, competence into an idol, a thing that I value above all else. I don't think it's that important, but it is important. It's important to get things done. It's important to meet your responsibilities and to do it in a responsible way. It's important to not just, you know, get things done but do them last minute, like minutes before you have to go, and then head off and and it just keep on going like that, where you're always on the edge of your seat, I guess, teetering on the edge of doing it, of not meeting your deadlines. I don't think that's a good way to live. Um, but there's some room there. There's some room there for flexibility, and the goal should always be to do things on time with plenty of room for unexpected things to happen, and and just always be on top of things, really, in the end. So yeah, I guess that's today's thought process. That's what's going on in my head this week. Like I said, a little less focused, but I feel like there's some interesting food for thought in there, and I'm certainly going to be thinking about this stuff even more going into the next week, where the deadlines do actually arrive for certain. And even after that, after I graduate in like 2 weeks or whatever, once I finish my final assignment, I mean, I'm basically graduated by then, and that's going to be a big transition for me. You know, what am I going to do with my time now that I don't have classes? Uh, how am I going to stay healthy, stay productive? Should I find a job? What sorts of projects should I fill my time with? How much should I exercise? You know, all these different questions are going to be very, very prevalent for me once I graduate. And so understanding how my brain works and how to work with my limitations, that is a very, very important thing. And so we'll have to see how it goes. We'll have to see if I can do it or not. Maybe I can, you know, talk. I'll probably talk about it more in these videos. To be honest, I basically say the same thing like twice all the time anyway. So you're gonna hear more about this, I would guess. But anyway, that's all I've got for the moment. Thanks for listening, as always. Thanks for being here and spending your time, uh, well, not with me, but you know, present here in this moment, listening to me. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to know that there are people out there who care to hear, and that's not to guilt trip you. Like if you really don't find this useful, then that's fine. You know, not everyone has the same life circumstances, but regardless of where you're at or what's going on, thank you for getting this far, and I'll maybe see you in the future. Goodbye.